Freedom, I never had the chance to run. Leave behind the said and done. Figure out what's to come. Reasons, all the bigger things I can't ignore. I'm not getting what I came here for. Gotta get ahead of something more. So I think I found a new way out, way beyond a shadow of doubt. 'Cause I can't breathe. And I guess I could be stronger now and leave it up to fate somehow. But I'm doing this for me. Give it up, baby, I'm not fooling anyone. Always going on and on. Can't you keep it to yourself for once? Oh, I think I found a new way out, way beyond your shadow of doubt. And I can't breathe. Oh, I hope you're keeping count of all the times you let me down, and all the things you said out loud, the bullshit I could cry about. And I know we could be stronger now and leave it up to fate somehow. But everything I do for me.
I get lost sometimes and I can't seem to find a light between the walls I built for myself right in my mind. And then you came over and you showed me love that I never had seen before. And now when I got you, it's all.
I feel your heart beating here in this place.
And Fury leads the way. Disco's touched the curb and he's gone round and in the wall.
I need to know I'm not alone. Now take it home as the night begins to fade away to yesterday. I wanna stay in this moment here with you.
Sutty Apex is the trolley train right now, and he's got a queue of cars behind him with Big Boy Brazier. Matthew Sutty's touched the curb, he's gone round, he's kept to go, and he's allowing all the cars through. And he jumps behind a Monkey Boy now.
Take it home as the night begins to fade away to yesterday. I wanna stay.
Of Gary. Gary and Matt are not teammates in this one. He's flashing him like mad. He's going to go down the inside, and Gary, I don't think he's going to fight this one. He's going to let Matt down the inside. As Gary actually hangs it strong on the outside, making Matt go the long way round. Matt's hit the back of Gary there. Oh, his disco goes down the inside. I guess the job done on Jamie there. Caught him napping and caught me napping as well.
Sometimes and I can't seem to find a light between the walls I built for myself right in my mind. And then you came over and you showed me love that I never had seen before. And now when I got you, it's all gonna be alright. Thinking about
As Disco's got down the inside of turn 3, he's now going to go into turn 4. Monkey Boy's going to try and hang out on the outside.
Just you and I. Only you can put my fire out. You can turn it all around. You can lift me off the ground so we can fly again. So we can fly again. Been trying hard not to go out.
Big boy Brazier's got himself in the top 3 here. Jamie, once again, a good strategy for Jamie, has put himself in the top 3.
Got to leave, then I'm gonna be alright. As long as you tell me that we ain't running out of time. Thinking about all the things we did tonight. What a time to be alive. Just you and I. Just you and I. Only you can put my fire out. You can turn it all around. And you can lift me off the ground so we can fly again. So we can fly again.
Monkey Boy's looking down the inside. Is he going to be brave? He gets the job done and he gets ahead of Gary 131.
We can fly again.
Getting hype when I aim up, elevating that game up, stepping up to the competition. Only first place, and that's how I'm living. I'm with it till they digging up my grave, eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate.
Ballsy going for the undercut there, and he gets jumped up, he bounces over the curb.
I was born and when I watched me elevate. I was born and when I watched me elevate. All in when I show up. Whole place about to blow up. Superior to that competition.
Oh, Smoky Devil's had a mistake. He's dropped the rear, and that's allowed Matt and Big Boy Brazier back through.
Eating up my grave, eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate. When I watch me elevate. I was born and when I watch me elevate.
Matt is going to go down the inside. Jamie's going to try and hang it strong around the outside. And Matt gets the job done into the first corner. He goes very deep though. Jamie's going to come back around the outside of turn 2. He's going to be on the inside of turn 3. And Big Boy Brazier goes back in front.
Atomic particles traveling near the speed of light do decay more slowly than stationary particles. As stream
And Monkey Boy down the inside of Fury. And Fury's going to run wide. That's going to allow the Bentley through, and through goes Monkey. Gavlar will finally become a winner here. He comes through at the final few sectors now. It's Gavlar into the final corner. He will win his first ever win here at Simplay Motorsport. Gavlar takes the win. And what a drive from this man. He has done an epic show here tonight. Matt with a great recovery will take P2 in the Bentley. And P3 will go the way of Big Boy Brazier. He will take that position. And Fury leads the way. Disco's touched the curb and he's gone round and in the wall.
I need to know I'm not alone. Now take it home as the night begins to fade away to yesterday. I wanna stay in this moment here with you. I know in this life we take what we're given, and the sun may still rise, but your light is missing. I need to know I'm not alone. Now take it home as the night begins to fade away to yesterday. I wanna stay in this moment here with you. I wish it were clear why you had to go. I wish you were near. I'll keep
That's the
you.
Apex is the trolley train right now, and he's got a queue of cars behind him with Big Boy Brazier. Matthew Sutti's touched the curb, he's gone round, he's kept together, and he's allowing all the cars through. And he jumps behind a Monkey Boy now.
Now take it home as the night.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Simplay Motorsport. My name is Dan Davis, and we're bringing you the action for the penultimate round of the ACC GT3 Championship here at Simplay Motorsport. And first things first, we must address that obviously we have had the sad news that Queen Elizabeth has passed away in the last couple of hours. So here in the UK, we are currently in mourning, but nonetheless, we're going to produce a tribute to her, her wonderful life on the throne. 70 years on the throne she has been, and sorry, 72 years and 110 days on the throne. 96 years of age she was, and like I said, she'd done some remarkable things for the United Kingdom. And a lot of the guys here you will see this evening will be doing some tribute liveries towards the Queen herself. Fury running the French United Kingdom flags on his Lamborghini, as you can see there, as is Gary 131. Matahimovic said he was going to, but he's gone back out in the red liveried car. We've got Emo Guy with the Union Jack. We've also got John as well. So when it comes to exactly 8 o'clock, all these guys will be coming back into the pits as PM Motorsport is running the black livery tonight in memory of Queen Elizabeth. Also, Bozzy Boy is in Union Jack as well. Fury, Gary, Matt, Peaceful, and all the others as well will be running into the pits. As like I said, 8 o'clock on the dot, we'll be doing a 2-minute silence in memory of Queen Elizabeth II and her reign on the throne here in the United Kingdom. We will bring you the action of the action here at the bringing the penultimate round of the season as well. Looks like we've got an interesting night's worth of racing ahead of us. But right now, just watch your Fury go around in his Union Jacked Lamborghini. Currently Disco top of the table. And we will do you a quick run of the standings just before we go for our 2-minute silence. There's Matevich who leads the way. He has got a 34 gap over Emo Guy. Gavlar is also in the championship fight for this. He's currently P3, P4 Monkey Boy, P5 Borzy, P6 is Peaceful Explosion, P7 is Big Boy Brazier, P8 is Rabbit Joe, P9 is Fury CBK, P10 is Smoky Devil, 11 is Disco Face, Sutty Apex is 12th, 13th is PM Motorsport, John is 14th, 15th is Welshie, Lucas Ruff is 16th, 17th is Dean Wasaki, 18th is Gary, 19th is Arjun, that Bozzy Boy in 20th, Bryn in 21st, Max Mulder bringing up the rear. And as you can see, all the guys now are making their way back into the pits. We're just waiting on Smoky Devil and Forzy now to return back to the pits as Forzy sets a lap time. And all these guys will be coming into the pits. 8 o'clock ban on the dot. All the guys will be in the pits doing their 2 minutes mark to Queen Elizabeth II. Managed to go to her Platinum Jubilee. 72 years on the throne. No other royal has ever managed to do that in the United Kingdom, and it'll be a very long time before any other will do so. She also served in World War II repairing Land Rovers, and she was a remarkable woman. Like I said, we will get Smoky Devil and Forzy back into the pits in a moment's time as everyone has been told to go into the pits. Forzy and Smoky still on track. But we shall go to the guys in the pit lane as now we shall start our 2-minute silence for Queen Elizabeth II.
slowing down.
She gave to us, and thank you for all of her services, and may she rest in peace. Some of these guys actually want to go out on track and just do a different type of tribute. I believe Fury wants to go around with his lights flashing in a lap of honor of Queen Elizabeth II, and I believe all these guys will be heading out as Matt does so, and a few of the guys will be able to go back out on track. And a few of the guys just coming out now. Like I said, Matt just doing a parade lap. Not all the guys have to do this, but it's down to them at the end of the day. As they all come flooding out of the pits. As Empire in the chat giving his love from Latvia to us in the United Kingdom. Like I said, we've lost an iconic member of our country, the backbone of our country, and has got us through the tough times. Queen Elizabeth II, this race is in memory of you. And here comes the Union Jack boys of Matt leading the way with Fury right behind him. Gary 131 also in the Union Jack. Peaceful Explosion, I think, is just behind them with PN as well. All these guys, British drivers themselves, and I said, making their respect and honours to Queen Elizabeth II. Let's put on the best show that we can produce for her. And it's nice to see the boys going around together. I believe also Ema Guy joining onto the back of that train as well. And there's Gavlar also as well. All these guys doing a lovely tribute here to Queen Elizabeth II, running the Union Jack liveries. But again, it's going to be all about the Brits this week. What can these guys do? Can we get a British winner on top of the tables, or will one of the other drivers try and stop them? That is the question. They come through the second half of the circuit. The Brits running a parade lap. Matt leading the way with Fury right behind him. Gary, Peaceful, PN Motorsport. just behind him as well. PN running obviously the Aston Martin, a British car, running the black in memory of her and the green of the Aston Martin. Smoky Devil right behind him, with Emo Guy also just trailing behind all these guys. Once again, a fantastic tribute. As we close one chapter, we'll open another one, as King Charles will then obviously become king. But today, this moment right now is obviously in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. And once again, these guys just coming into the final few moments now. Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth II, and thank you to all the guys here. Thank you to everybody who's done the 2-minute silence. Thank you to all the Brits who have just come across the line as well. A lovely tribute there, as we will go to Peacewood there. And a lot of these guys, a lot of them very much touching their hearts as well. I believe some of these guys have actually been a part of the forces as well, so it means a lot to them. So thank you once again, guys, for being a part of that. But now let's focus on the action here tonight, as these guys are in a practice session. Let's focus on the racing here this evening. Man who's on top of the tables at the minute of this practice session is Disco McDiscoface, doing it for Scotland, and he's into the final sector now. What can these guys do as they are at the Nurburgring? The penultimate round of the season. Can Emo Guy catch Matimovic? It's looking like Matt's championship is possibly up and gone, and no one can catch him at the minute, but it's down to Emo Guy and Gavlar, who are both mathematically still in this. But right now, it is Disco who is the fastest man of the session. Rabbit Joe is currently second. Peaceful Explosion is P3. P4 is Fury. P5 is Matimovic, and P6 is Forzy, who's still in the pits. P7 is Gary131 Gavlar. P8 with P9 being that buddy boy. P10 is PN Motorsport, who's currently in the pits, and Smoky Devil out on track with Max Mulder currently 12th. John is in 13th place position with Emo Guy down in 14th. Big Boy Brazier also on track now with 15 drivers on track here this evening on ACC. And who is going to come out on top? Let's hear you guys in the chat. Currently 22 people currently watching the stream. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified for when we are live. As we've just lost a driver, I'm not sure who we've lost. I think it's Peaceful Explosion. He should be able to get back into the session. But let's hear from you guys. Let's hear from you guys in the chat. And also, if you are new to the channel, then please head over to our Discord page and our Facebook page and get involved. Season 7 is just around the corner. Cars are being announced, drivers are being announced, and they're all being posted on Facebook and Discord. We have a lot of drivers who have confirmed car liveries and teams, so it's going to be an exciting season. Oscherslaben, round 1 of the season, will be just around the corner. A quick run through of the season, as we will start things off on the 28th of September is the first race of the season. Pro-Ams will hit the track at Oscherslaben A, and we will then move to America for the second round of the championship, as we will head to Circuit of the Americas. Round 3 will be at Spain, at Catalonia, for the third round of the season. That will be a morning race, so the guys will have to make sure they're bright and early, ready for that race. Obviously, game-wise, not obviously, will still be live at 8 p.m. Then we head to America once again. We take a break from America. We head back once again to Laguna Seca for round 4. And again, that will be an evening race, so something a little different for the guys to tackle. Round 5, we head to Dubai for the 5th round of the championship, making sure that our hard tyres are at their best, because they're going to need those hard tyre performances, because it's going to be a hot one. Max gone up to P3 at the minute, so Max finding pace in his Audi. We head back to America once again, 3 times in a row this season. Sorry, 4 times this season we'll be heading to America. but 3 times on the bounce where we go somewhere else, come back, go again, and come back. Round 6 is Watkins Glen. We return back to Watkins Glen for another season. Haven't seen it since season 5, where myself and Andy duked out for the championship in Pro. Round 7, we head to Japan. We head to Suzuka again, or better known from Project Cars as Sekito. So we will be returning to that circuit for the 7th round of the championship. 8th round, we head down under. We head to Australia for Mount Panorama, Bathurst, for round 8 of the championship. Watch out for carnage there, because we go up and down the hill, and a lot of drivers not really done a lot of practice there. You just see there, Gavlar goes up into P5. Round 9 of the championship, we head to France as we go to Le Mans, but we don't do the full Le Mans circuit, we do the Bugatti circuit. Slightly different circuit, but very, very much a technical track, and very much not liked by a lot of drivers, so keep an eye out for that one. Then it's Britain, 2 races in a row, and both night races as well. Round 10, Silverstone, and round 11, Brands Hatch. Both races will be at night. The Brits bring in the night races this season, and also temperatures are going to be interesting there, as it will be freezing conditions as we will go heading into December. When the final round of the season, we go back to America. We go to Simplay Motorsport's known home as Daytona Road Course will return and be the finale of the season. They're finishing the season off at a power circuit. What a season we have ahead of us, and it's going to be all eyes on the man who is currently P5 at the minute, Matimovic, your reigning pro champion. Can he continue that on? And with his teammate Gary 131, the man who hates ACC, will these two manage to retain their championship in pro and the constructors? That is the question. Make sure you tune in for that, and also make sure you tune in for any news on anything else here at Simplay Motorsport. We're looking to do a Indy 500 championship, just an Indy 500 event at some point this season. The off season, so make sure you tune in for that one as well. Also, make sure you tune in, as we might possibly have F1 2022 coming to your screen soon, and obviously with it being cross-platform, we could possibly have a brand new load of faces, a brand new opportunity for drivers to come in. So make sure you are tuned in and watching the action here at Simplay Motorsport. A lot of new things and a lot of positive things coming our way here at Simplay Motorsport. But right now, ACC is where it's at, and it is this man who is currently top of the table, Disco McDisco Face, currently top man in the Ferrari. All the Ferraris tend to have a great round last week at Catalonia, where we had a Ferrari front row of Peaceful and Disco on the front row. Peaceful taking a pole position, hasn't done so in a very, very long time. Can the Ferraris continue that form, as they're currently P1 and 3, with Rabbit Joe splitting them at the minute in the Porsche 911. I know for a fact that he is currently away and having some dinner at this precise stage. But can the Audi of Max get himself involved? Can Smoky Devil also? Matt currently struggling on pace at the minute in the Bentley. No Monkey Boy to help him out this evening, so he comes down the main straight. He's got the Ferrari of Disco behind him. Nor drivers improve, and then this man. He has finally become a race winner here at Simplay Motorsport. Our newest race winner here is Gavlar, and a massive congratulations a week ago at Catalonia. What a drive he put on, avoiding the trouble and making sure that he was the man on top. It was a close fight for him at the end for Smoky Devil, as he had Big Boy Brazier and Matimovic hunting him down, and just sadly lost out on a podium here. But can he do anything about Nurburgring, the home of where Porsche, Audi, BMW and the Mercedes will surely be wanting to try and get as many points as they possibly can here, and a win as well. But at the minute, it's Italy who are currently on top with Ferrari and Disco McDisco Face. So far, Fury not showing the pace that he probably would have wanted in the Lamborghini. Currently nearly 2 seconds off the pace of Disco, but right now this is just a free practice session, so there's no qualifying at this minute. They will be going into a qualifying session in a moment's time. And like I said, guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified so you do not miss any of the action here at Simplay Motorsport. As that Buzzy Boy currently in the GTR, he's struggling with pace at the minute, 3.7 off the pace, and he's just gone a little bit wide and spun the car around. He should be able to get that spun round. He goes straight back to the pits instead. Return to the pits, he does. 40 currently P10. Gary 131 in P11. The two Porsches looking to try and find a little bit more time on Fury. So just need to make a few adjustments a minute to my sound. Apologies for this, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. We can hear the cars a lot better now as Gary 131 goes through the final chicane. And let's do a lap with a driver here. We go on board with the number 87 of John. Nope, he's currently in that sector. So who is 7? We'll stick with Gary actually because he is going through turn 1. So Gary 131 will go on board with the two-time champ as he heads towards turn 1, hitting the brakes just before you hit the dip and making sure you hit the apex of turn 1. It just dips down as you run a little bit wide, taking all the curb you possibly can, just running a little bit safe in traction. Into turn 2, awkward corner, the car wants to lose traction and it just keeps turning around as you head in towards turn 3, braking in the corner and the car will want to become unsettled. Into 4, trying to take as much curb as you possibly can on entry and then running the car out wide as far as you dare without trying to get a penalty. Heading towards 5, downhill braking zone. And then into 5 we go, a little bit banked on the inside and let the car run wide. Heading into 6, back over to try and get the best run through 6. Gary running a little bit wide. Heading towards down 7 now, where the car kind of wants to do a V shape as you head towards 7. Hit the apex early, let the car run wide on midpoint as Gary's about to do so. He sticks to the inside and get a good exit as well as he heads up towards 8 and 9, which is the Schumacher S's, where Lewis Hamilton had his big crash and really hurt his legs one year as he heads up the hill towards 10. Right on the back of a Ferrari by the looks of things, I believe that is Peaceful Explosion. Through 10 we go into 11, and again 11 a corner that's really, you want to attack it more than you actually can. You really have to be patient on the throw. Into 12, pretty much a flat out corner through here, no issues for the drivers. Up towards the chicane, normally on project cars we'd have the a lot tighter chicane, but here on ACC it's the more open chicane and most of the drivers will get caught out by that as they head towards the final corner. And Gary 131 taking us a lap through the Nurburgring. Is this a better lap time for him? Looked pretty clean, looked pretty tidy. Can he get ahead of Forzy as he comes towards the line now? And he does, he goes up to P10, so Gary do finding a little bit more time. But more importantly, Emo Guy has gone top of the table in the Bentley, and that's where he needs to be. With Matejovic now gone up to P3 as well, dropping Peaceful, Max and Rabbit Joe down. But Disco still in a good position in that P2 position as it stands. And what can Matt do? He just needs to stay within sight of Emo Guy. As there is plenty of opportunities for Emo Guy to try and score some points. As he heads down to the hairpin, as I just see in the chat, a few of the guys. We do have Max Mulder in the chat. As PM Motorsports also in the chat. JR Sim Racing also supporting Emo Guy. Peaceful Stepdad in the chat. Gablar Racing. Emperor, Mummy D, Peaceful Stepdad as well in the chat. So nice to see all you guys. So Peaceful, flasher lights there. So yeah, switches on boards with him. Currently ahead of Gary 131. And what can Peaceful do? He put it on pole position last time out at Catalonia, but had a dreadful start, bad reaction to the start, and just got absolutely swallowed by the pack. Can he get another pole position and try and redeem himself, or at least get on the front row and try and have a better start as I head towards the chicane now? Peaceful Explosion currently P5, 1.4 off the pace, but he's not going to go any faster doing that. Onto the grass he goes and just touches the gravel trap. Definitely will not be an improvement from him as he comes towards the line. No improvement there from Peaceful Explosion, nor from Gary 131. Big Boy Brazier currently in the pits. He had a very good run out in Catalonia as well, getting on himself onto the podium. giving himself a fantastic strategy which allowed him to put himself in that position. We have got a yellow flag. That is Fury. He is pulled over to the side. He's probably going to be returning back to the pits. And also this man with a great start to the race last week. Excuse me. Great start to the race. He managed to get himself up with Gavlar and just disappear for a while until eventually Matt and Big Boy managed to hunt him back down. But what can Smoky Devil do here this evening in his Porsche 911? Can he produce some decent lap times and get himself a bit further up the board? John, we've missed for a couple of weeks, but he is back here this evening. Currently 13th at the minute. What can he do? Can he manage to negotiate any of the action or trouble that happens on later on this evening? That is the question, as he just moves to one side, and I think he is going back to the pits. And that is Gavlar going into turn 1, your recent Simplay winner. And what can he do in this Ferrari? He was all about thinking about consistency and just looking to try and score some good points. Third in the championship as it stands, still mathematically in it as well. So what can Gavlar do this evening? But this man, Emo Guy, as we come to the end of practice, will be the fastest man of the practice session, as we will now go into a qualifying session. So the guys will now return back to the pits or finish their laps. As we're just waiting on Gavlar and Gary, and Gary's gone back to the pits. Also waiting on Smoky Devil. So guys, get your vote in on who you think is going to take the win here this evening. So far we've had 3 different winners of 4 different races. Matt taking 2 wins earlier on in the season. Emo Guy taking another win at Paul Ricard, and then Gavlar, the only other race winner here in the ACC Simplay Championship. Can Fury CPK get another race win to his name? Can he get himself involved in the championship fight? And what can he do? Can Peaceful Explosion put another pole position, and can he get himself a better race start to allow himself to at least to be in contention for the race win? As they all return back into the pits. And it is now a green for the session, so these guys can go out and do qualifying here. Max in the chat. Max is going to win. Super Max, says Max Mulder in the chat. As speaking of Super Max, we will have the Italian Grand Prix on this weekend. Guys, get yourselves chatting in the Discord, in the Facebook group if you want to get involved in any discussions of anything going on motorsport wise, whether it's Formula 1, British touring cars, to V8 supercars, IndyCar. We chat all about anything in the Discord. We have a brilliant community, and get yourselves involved. And if you do like that as well, then head over to our Facebook page as well. Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified so you do not miss any action here at Simplay Motorsport. And have a look at our brilliant sponsors as well, Audio Sport, Made in Manchester, and also Sea Leech Designs as well. Have a look at all their products and offers as well, as they do produce some brilliant stuff for you guys. Right, now we got the guys out on track. We're currently watching second man in the championship. What can Emo Guy do? He needs to make sure that he puts himself between Matt and the rest of the pack so that he's able to get a great opportunity to get some points over Matt. Matt needs to have a bad round for anything to happen, as Matt is currently the leading car. He will set the pace here this evening. Guys, who do you think is going to take the win here this evening? Who's going to take pole position as well? Let me hear from you. There's 19 people currently watching the stream. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, get involved, because you guys what makes this channel, and we always want to hear from you guys. Matt heading up to the chicane, and just behind him is PM Motorsport. Is it too far behind? I'm trying to figure out who is that. That's Emo Guy and Peaceful, I think, is the car in front. No, it's Fury. Then we got the 27 of Disco in the 4th man to cross the line in the Ferrari. with PN in the Aston Martin not too far behind him. We've got a car that's spun in the final corner, so I'm not sure who that is, as that Buzzy Boy is going up to the hairpin. 87 of John will be the next one to follow after, and he will now start his lap time here, as it was Max Mulder who was the car behind, running the 33 in probably in number for Max Verstappen. It says Max Super Max, but we will head over to Matimovic, who will be the first man to set a lap time. He does have traffic ahead of him. I'm not sure who that is in front. I think it's the number 11. It is of Peaceful Explosion. So if Matt times this right, he will actually get a slight slipstream off the back of Peaceful's Ferrari. To go through the Schumacher S's. Just behind him, Emo Guy has already cleared Fury, so he's got some clean air now. But has that affected his first half of the lap, as we've got pretty much every single car on track, bar Gary and Forzy are still in the pits at the minute. Are they waiting for a little bit of clean air? As there is a car on their own going across the start finish line. I believe it's that Buzzy Boy. So he's got complete clean air. So what can he do with no one in his way? Matimovic though up to the chicane. How committed is he through here? Peaceful will now start a lap himself. This is the benchmark that they'll all be hunting for. The Emo Guy is really not far behind him either. Disco and Fury as well, also on lap times. Matt crosses the line and he'll set a lap time. He doesn't set a lap time, so it'll be Emo Guy who will set the first pace at 57.2. What can Fury do? No lap time set. Disco will go 1.1 behind Emo Guy as it stands. The 66 of PM Motorsport. What lap time is he going to produce? He goes P3, 6.5 off the pace, with John just coming up behind, with Max just behind him as well. Both of these guys towards the line. John, what can he do? He goes P3, 2.6, as Max goes P2, and he's only 500ths off of Emo Guy. What a lap time from him, as we got a couple more guys coming into the final corner. Smoky Devil towards the line now. What can he do? He would go P4 as Gavlar exits the final corner now in the Ferrari. Where does he start his Ferrari? He goes P3, 7/10 off the pace. And who is that just behind him? That was Rabbit Joe, and he goes P6. So we got a little bit of a wait as we then head to that Buzzy Boy in the Nissan GTR. Goes through the final sector now into the split. He goes into the chicane, dropping down the gears, clipping the first apex over the second apex into the final corner. Max Mulder with a fantastic lap time in that Audi to only bring him 500ths off the back of Emo Guy. Towards the line that Buzzy Boy goes. He goes P8 as it stands. Matt currently on another lap. He's got a couple of cars ahead of him. The 28 of Forzy going through the chicane. He is on his out lap as Peaceful Explosion is on his fastest lap. Matt is right behind him as well. What can Peaceful do? He goes into the final corner. What lap time can he produce here? A little bit wide onto the gravel. He's going to lose some time there. And Matt's going to get a little bit of a tow. Peaceful, no lap time. Matt, he goes P3. Emo Guy extends his gap. He goes at 56.7. Here comes Disco. What can he do? He crosses the line. He doesn't improve. Fury goes P7. As PN Motorsport now heads towards the pits. He's done his one lap, but into the pits he comes. So PN Motorsport's done for the meantime, as we got a car into the final corner. I'm trying to figure out which one that is. I think it is Big Boy Brazier. He comes towards the line. It is Big Boy. Sets a lap time. Well, he doesn't, he just gets out on track. Smoky Devil though goes P4. He's a second off the pace. 26, that's Gavlar. Has he improved? Has he found any more time? No, he hasn't. He will stay P5. The 16 of Rabbit Joe, he goes up to P5. He finds a little bit more time, as we've got Gary 131 going through the chicane. So Gary 131 now out on track. So Runs a little bit wide, car goes a little bit loose there. And towards the start finish straight he goes, and he starts a lap time here at the Nurburgring. That Bozzy boy in Nissan GTR. What can he do as he goes into the final corner now? Try and get a good run out the final corner and get him set ahead of John. Only needs 2/10 to do that. He crossed the line, he does go P9. A little bit off the pace of Fury as it stands. We now look back to Forzy, who is currently heading towards the chicane. Matt is really caught onto the back of Peaceful now. Is he going to find a little bit more time? 9 tenths off pole position from Emo Guy, but Forzy exits the final corner. What lap time can he produce, and where does it put him? He goes P11. Matt Imovic though, what has he done? Invalid lap time, he will not improve. Emo Guy finds a little bit more time at 56.3. He improves as Matt stops so that he can go into the pits. Peaceful Explosion P7 as they all come flooding through now. John towards the line, what can he produce? He stays P11 as it stands. We've got a car into the chicane. Once again, my eyes are terrible and I can't see who that is. It is Big Boy Brazier, the number 70 in the McLaren, into the final corner. He goes. The 720S GT3 McLaren, what can he produce? P15 as it stands. He goes P13 at the minute. 16, that is Rabbit Joe, and I believe this is an outlap for Rabbit Joe. What lap time can he do now? He's got a little bit of clean air, a couple of cars exiting the pits. As he all over the grass there by the looks of things. As we've got a car in the final sector. I believe that is Max, it is. Across the line he goes and starts a flying lap here. And we head to the only man who has to set a lap time yet. It is Gary 131 onto the gravel. He goes in the Porsche 911 that he won 2 championships in the pro category. And no lap time set just yet. Peaceful now going into the slow chicane. Up towards the chicane he comes. Peaceful Explosion put it on pole position last week at Catalonia. He's really throwing that Ferrari in. He's probably lost a lot of time for Assetto, and on the grass he goes and he drops the rear. Peaceful Explosion makes that mistake as Emo Guy is currently on a lap time. He is currently a second ahead of the rest of the pack as it stands. Across the line, does he improve anymore? No, he does not. As the guys wipe their brows as Forzy just crosses the line also. 27, that is Disco. He's in the final corner. Can Disco get himself at least in the top 5? Towards the line, no improvement. He will stay at P8 at the minute. Still waited for Gavlar to cross the line as the car has just completed a lap time. The 87 of John, he gets himself, still stays in 11th place position. As Matt says in the chat that Matovic could win the title here this evening. Gavlar into the final corner. He does have a car ahead of him. That is I'm not sure what car that is. Is that Bozzy Boy? But Gavlar, does he improve? Not quite. He's a 10th off of Rabbit Joe as it stands. So Rabbit Joe is actually the next man to come through the chicane. Then it's Gary 131 just behind him. Porsche following one another around, and it is Rabbit Joe leading the 2 Porsches in the number 16. What can he do? Has he improved on lap time? No, he has not. Has Gary finally put a lap time together in the 131? Gary towards the line, still no lap time from him. And currently drivers in the pits, PM Motorsport, Smokey Devil and Matimovic. All 3 of these guys at some point will have to come back out on track and do a bit more qualifying. Emo Guy through the chicane he goes. Trying to get a good run, a good exit, trying to launch himself out the corner. Can he find a little bit more time and extend his gap? No, he does not. He will stay a second ahead of the pack. Our Bozzy Boy in the middle sector as it stands. As I just see Disco has got himself up into P4 there. So good lap time from himself, 87. That is John, and he gets himself up into P10. So great lap time from him. Is that Gavlar just behind? No, I think it was Peaceful Explosion. It was no lap time from him, so he's just out doing an out lap. As we got that Buzzy Boy going through the chicane. As the number 26 of Gavlar is in the final corner. Has he improved? P7 as it stands. Can he find a little bit more time and get ahead of Rabbit Joe? He does, and gets ahead of Smoky Devil. He goes P5. That Buzzy Boy, no improvement from him. He will stay P12 at the minute. The number 16 of Rabbit Joe into the chicane. That's Gary 131 also not too far behind him. Has he finally put a lap time together? Gary 131 needs to get a lap time on the board at least. He's got less than 7 minutes to do so. Rabbit Joe, no improvement. Gary, can he finally put a lap time on the board? That's the question. He does and goes P13, so ahead of Big Boy Brazier and PN Motorsport. As we see the Audi of Max just going through the start finish line and sets on his lap time here as Forzia just believe coming out of the pits there. Yes, it is. But we head back to the Bentley that is leading the way at the minute, trying to hunt down Matty with his championship. Into the final corner he goes. Emo Guy currently fastest of them all. Can he get over a second? No improvement. He will stay top of the table at the minute with 56.3, but no improvement from him. Disco now in the final corner. Can he get himself at least on the front row and ahead of Matt and Max? Towards the line he comes. No improvement from him either. Peaceful Explosion in the final corner. What can Peaceful do? He has a wiggle there on exit. Just run a little bit wide there. P8 at the minute. And again, no improvement. All these guys just seem to be struggling at the minute to find any improvement. We saw this last time out. 13. That is Fury. No improvement. Next car to come towards the chicane is that Buzzy Boy. Into the final corner he comes. Has he found any more time? Not enough to get ahead of Forzy. 16, that's Rabbit Joe into the chicane. Into the final corner he goes. Can he improve on 7th place position? Does not, and will stay there for the meantime. Peaceful Explosion is another man to keep an eye on. He's currently P8 at the minute. Currently at this stage, Peaceful still looking to try and find a little bit more lap time at the minute as we do get a driver into the session. Not sure who that is. Gary crosses the line, stays 13. Disco gets ahead of Matinovic as Arjun's got himself into the session as Max Mulder has actually got himself within half a second of Emo. So Emo Guy is looking like he's starting to get a little bit of pressure here from Max Mulder. He's starting to find some pace. So, what can Max Mulder do? He's got, at the minute, he's going to be on the front row with Emo Guy, so it's all going to be interesting towards the end. Disco comes back out on track with a set of fresh tyres, fresh fuel, and ready to go. 26, that is Gavlar. He's in the final chicane, into the final corner he goes. He goes onto the gravel trap, and that is his lap time done. And we'll have to go on and do another one. The car has stopped and gone to the pits. I believe that was the 22 of Smoky Devil. 87, that is John. As Argent is now into the session. up towards the chicane comes John. He's got Emo Guy and Rabbit Joe flying up behind him. There is a Rabbit Joe in his Porsche 911. What can John do? Has he found a little bit more time just to get ahead of Fury? That is the question. Into the final corner. There you go. John, has he improved? No, he will stay P10. Rabbit Joe, no improvement. Emo Guy, has he extended the gap? No, he hasn't. So Max Mulder, though, is really starting to put the speed up here and really start to pressurize Emo Guy. 1-3-1 of Gary going into the final corner in his Porsche 911. What can he do? Can he get himself off of 13th? No, he will stay 13th at the minute. Emo Guy still at top of the table. Matahimovic goes across the line. He will stay P4 as it stands. P11 is peaceful. Any improvement? He does. He gets himself ahead of Rabbit Joe. Disco towards the line. No improvement. So all these guys just making a few final tweaks and changes so that their car is in the best state they possibly can. 33, that was Max Mulder. He starts his flying lap. We will keep an eye on him. This will be his last attempt here. But we will go into turn one with him. The 71 of Argent will get one lap and one lap only as he gets himself into the session. 26 comes towards the line. That is Gavlar. And he does improve ever so slightly, but not enough to get himself ahead of Matahimovic. 70, that is Big Boy Brazier towards the line. No improvement, stays 14th. So all these guys now are pretty much on their final laps. So I believe Forzy, Emo Guy, and Fury, I think, will be able to just sneak one more possible lap in here. The Nurburgring next to the Nordschleife to produce some fantastic racing, not just here virtually, but also in real life. F1 has produced some great racing here. As Forzy now goes into the final corner now. Forzy, an 11th place position. He will get another lap, and he stays 11th. Fury will get another lap as well. Does he improve? No. Emo Guy doesn't improve either, so these two are on their final laps. We go to Gary 131, who's in the chicane. This will be his last lap and last effort to get himself ahead of that Buzzy Boy. He looks like he's run a little bit wide. Onto the gravel he goes. Gary 131, can he do it? Can he get ahead of that Buzzy Boy? No, he doesn't. Matt, he finds a few more time there and he goes P3. So Matt currently third row. Emo Guy, though, is going to be the last man to set a lap time here. There's a car off. He's done for the session. I'm not sure who that was. I think that was that Buzzy Boy. He went back to the pits. The number 33, that is Max Mulder. Has he found a little bit more time? No, he hasn't. He will start on the front row, though, with Emo Guy. Gavlar into the chicane now, with Argent just behind him. Emo Guy is on a lap time. He's out there with Fury. No, Fury, yep, Fury is in out there as well. As the 71 of Argent rolls to the end. He comes straight into the pits. And that is the 70 of Big Boy Brazier getting himself ahead of Gary 131. That is the question. He comes towards the line. No improvement and will stay 14th. So now we've got Fury and Emo Guy going at it. Fury with the Union Jack of the Bentley breathing down his neck. Fury pushing him wide there. Does not want him coming through. And I think that is Emo Guy done. Yes, it is. Forzy was the other car involved. But Emo Guy will be on pole position as it stands. Unless Fury can produce a lap time here. Forzy is done. We'll keep an eye on the board for Fury's lap time. He's currently 2.3 off the pace and quite a bit off of Rabbit Joe at the minute. But towards the line does Fury come. And he doesn't improve, so it will be Emo Guy who's on pole position in the Bentley, with Max Mulder joining him on the front row. With Matimovic will be starting in P3 with Disco riding alongside him. P5 will be Gavlar and P6 will be Smoking Devil. That's your row 3. Row 4 will be the way of Peaceful Explosion with Rabbit Joe starting alongside him in P8. Row 5 will be Fury starting in P9 with John alongside him in P10. Row number 6, Forzy in P11. P12 is that Buzzy Boy. with row 7 consisting of a couple of champions, the 2-time champ of Gary 131 and the 1-time champ of Pro-Am of Big Boy Brazier. And the final and 8th row will be consisting of PN Motorsport and Argent 22. So guys, get your votes in on who you think is going to win this race, as I believe Emo Guy will be the man to keep an eye on, but Max Mulder seems to have some great pace here at the Nurburgring. And a reminder as well, guys, to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be notified for when we are live, so you do not miss any of the action here at Simplay Motorsport. Head over to our Discord page and our Facebook page as well. Get yourselves involved and make sure you tune in on the 28th of September, as we will be back once again on Project Cars 2 for Season 7. A season that could be producing one of the best seasons that we have ever produced here at Simplay Motorsport. Oscar Slabine, the return of a 3-time pro champion, also reigning champion of Matimovic. Gary 131, a 2-time champ. Between those guys, that is 6 titles between them. We also have Big Boy Brazier, champion in Pro-Am. He's returning back into the Pro. We've also got Richie, a new driver, bringing himself into the championship, but he has got a big reputation, a man who is definitely very, very fast in these GT cars for sure. Also returning once again is Overtaker, and hopefully he complete the whole season, so he's really able to give Matimovic and the rest of the guys a big, big challenge this season. But we are focusing here on ACC, the penultimate round of the season. Matimovic can win the title here tonight. An hour-long race, a pit stop where they will have to change tyres. But who is going to come out on tap? But it's Emo Guy and Max Mulder on the front row. Max in the chat saying still P2 without any practice before today. Not bad, considering he had an update and he didn't even realise he had to do the update. So congratulations, Max, on the front row. Gavlar still mathematically in it as well, and I believe as is Forzy in the championship. Let me just double check that one, as I do have it on my phone. But either way, guys, hit that like button. These guys have put on a fantastic show, and if not just for these guys, they'd do it for in memory of our late passing of Queen Elizabeth II, and this race will go out to her drivers who are still mathematically in the title. Emo Guy, Gavlar, Monkey Boy and Forzy all still in it, but well, Forzy is still 2 points out, as we are only 20 seconds left to go before we are ready to get the formation underway. Emo Guy 16 points behind, as there are 50 points still yet available. 25 for a race win, 34 separating Emo Guy and Matt. Going to be an interesting race nonetheless, as we will get things underway. It is Emo Guy on the front row with Max Mulder alongside him as well. Penultimate round of the race of this season. Matimovic can win this title, but he has got to make sure that he at least finishes this race. Emo Guy will try everything in his power to stop him from doing so, as we were about to get underway, and we're about to go green here at the Nurburgring. It is Emo Guy on the front row, and once again, ACC is a terrible broadcasting game. Emo Guy brings them in as we will go green here at the Nurburgring, and we head towards turn 1. Max has had a decent start, so is Matt and Disco, and it's the mid-pack that is chaos here, but Max is going to try and send it to someone. Fury and that Body Boy both got drive-through penalties, and in turn 1 to go. Fury's dropped the rear, and around he goes. There's all sorts of chaos. Matt's been involved, and he's dropped to the back of the pack. There's all sorts of chaos going on. Fury was the man causing that chaos, and he's gone himself up to the top. John started from the pits. He will start further back, but is that Matimovic who is dropped to the back of the pack after contact with Fury, and he is dropped right to the rear. But it's Emo Guy who leads the way with Max Mulder right behind him, though, in second place position, as Matimovic drops to the back of the rear of the pack. So we try and get the guys to get the positions all synced up as soon as we possibly can, as it will go through the sectors. But Emo Guy with the start that he would have wanted. Max Mulder just behind him. Super Max on a charge here. Disco's had a fairly decent start. Well, I say decent, he's actually gone backwards and he's dropped himself into the back of the pack. Fury was the man who's on the moves, as is Gavlar. Peaceful Explosion with a decent start. Smoky Devil, P6. P7 is Rabbit Joe. Disco, P8. Gary, 9. 40, 10. That Buzzy Boy is 11, but Matt is already on the charge and moving his way through past Forzy. Big Boy Brazier, 13th. Argent, 14th. PN in 15th. And John bringing up the rear, choosing to start from the pit lane. An hour into this race and already chaos. Two drivers will have to serve drive-through penalties and they have to do it within 3 laps time. Max Mulder though is on pace here. He's really sticking with Emo Guy. Meanwhile, Disco pulled away from Gary 131, Forzy, and Matt is just dropped behind back Forzy once again. No, sorry, Forzy is ahead, just behind, as that Buzzy Boy is going to be trying to fight for the position. He just goes on the grass and is not able to find a way through there as they go through the finish straight once again, and Max is literally right on the back bumper of Emo Guy and is really wanting to pressurize him now as Fury carries on through. Does that Buzzy Boy? No, he's carrying on through as well as he's been passed by Matt. Peaceful Exposure has dropped down the order, so he looks like he's out of mode, but that Buzzy Boy is going to attack Matt down the inside of turn 1 and it looks like he's got the job done. So Matt's got a lot more work to do now. It's behind the Nissan GTR, but that Buzzy Boy's gone round. He's just managed to hold it there, and Matt and Peaceful had to bail out of that one. But the man who's on the move there is Gary 131. He's managed to get himself up a little bit higher as well. As we've got Forzy, Big Boy Brazier, all these cars just trailing behind that Buzzy Boy, and Disco also looks like he's had a moment somewhere. He's dropped down the order. As Max still, once again, 4 tenths behind the back of the Emo Guy. Smoky Devil, once again, having a great start, as Gavlar. So these guys, keeping their noses clean, has managed to get themselves towards the front. We go back to that Buzzy Boy, who's still trying to defend heavily from Matinovic, but he will have to go in the pits at some point to serve his drive-through. Matt down the inside of the hairpin, and that is an easy job done there for him, and he moves up a place, but he needs to keep the position. He runs a little bit wide, and that Buzzy Boy is right on the rear wing of Matahimovic. This Peaceful is just behind the guys as well, but Matt a little bit more committed through there. Now he hunts after his teammate in Project Cards. There's Gary at 131. Rabbit Joe with a very good start for him. Emo Guy now trying to extend his gap over Max. They come over to the split now and the gap is 9 tenths, so he has managed to extend that gap. Fury will have to serve his drive through very shortly. It's Gavlar, P4, P5. Smoky Devil is still quite close to the back of Gavlar. Can he stick to him this time and go with him? It's Fury, has he chose to pit? Yes, he has. He is into the pits to serve his drive through. When does that Buzzy Boy come in and do his? He has had a spin and has dropped it. Can he get himself going once again? Yes, he does, and he opts to go straight into the pits and serve his drive-through. So Max just still trying to get onto the back of Emo Guy here. Gavlar and Smoky Devil having a good little scrap with Rabbit Joe not too far behind, as Matinovic has already cleared Gary 131. Now pursues after Rabbit Joe. As Fury now comes down the pit lane and out he comes. Drive-through has been cleared and away he goes. A long race that we've only gone into 5 minutes of this session and 55 minutes yet to go, as that Buzzy Boy also completes his drive-through penalty as well, but he is sped in the pit lane and has been given a stop and go 30-second penalty. Bit of a shame there for that Buzzy Boy, so he will have to serve that penalty also, and that's going to hurt him. Emo Guy, same, never do practice, says him in the chat. Right now, those two are long gone. As once again, Gavlar with another great start for himself has managed to get himself up into P3. Smoky Devil and Rabbit Joe just seem to have lost a little bit of time to Gavlar, so now Matt can try and hunt after the two Porsche 911s. Can he do about them? Peaceful Explosion currently just ahead of Forzy. And Forzy looking interesting here to try and get past Peaceful as he looks towards the left-hander. No opportunity there. Disco not too far behind Big Boy Brazier, and all these guys with Constantine are up, allowing them all to get a little bit closer so they can have a bit of racing. As they head towards chicane, Rabbit Joe getting a little bit more interested in Smoky Devil as they cross the split. He actually lost a temp to Smoky Devil in the middle sector. Meanwhile, Matt is really on a charge to hunt them down. We go back to Peaceful and Forzy. Forzy not quite close enough. He's within 2/10 of him. As Disco bounces right over the curb, and has he gone round? I think he might have. No, he's managed to catch it, but he has lost a lot of time and he's in the grass. Gary losing time, hand over fist to Matimovic, as Forzy now looking to get a little bit more interested in Peaceful, but he's still too far back as Big Boy Brazier joins the fight as well. Further back we have Argent, who's starting to become under pressure from John. Also PN currently in 14th place. Fury not too far behind him, as that Bozzy Boy will have a drive through, a stop and go to serve. But Emo Guy doing everything right at the minute and is out in front. Max has made a mistake. He's gone off. Can he get it back on track? That's give Gavlar a second. No, not quite. So Gavlar will be on the back of Max though. He had a 3.2 second gap and he is now lost out here to Gavlar. Gavlar will be right onto the back of Max. And Smoky Devil will not be too far behind them either, as Rabbit Joe still within 2/10s, but Matimovic is trying to hunt them down. We go back to Peaceful, and Forzy's lost time there to Peaceful, and Big Boy Brazier also, so those two come together. That is the question. As Disco has lost time to a Big Boy Brazier as well. Currently your closest fight on track at the minute is these two. It is Forzy versus Big Boy Brazier, 7/10 only separating these two at the minute, as that Buzzy Boy currently in the pits and serving his penalty. As they now go through the middle sector, as I say, they're the closest fight. Rabbit Joe has got really close to Smoky Devil. That is Max though. He is on the grass and he has gone round. That is giving Gavlar a position. Smoky Devil, Rabbit Joe and Matimovic. Gary 131, Peaceful Explosion and Forzy. Big Boy Brazier as well. Not quite as Max comes back on track, but he gives him space, so he drops all the way down to 11th place position, 10th place position. With Disco just a little bit too far behind to get involved himself. So Max, after a fantastic qualifying session, has dropped himself all the way to the back. That Buzzy Boy is coming back out on track after serving his penalty. But Emo Guy with a lovely gap now to second place man of Gavlar. Rabbit Joe though, 7/10 on the back of Smoky Devil. With Forzy now also 4/10 on the back of Peaceful Explosion. So all these guys getting really close to one another. As Matt at the minute not able quite to match. Well, he's matching Rabbit Joe in front of him, so he's not able to really climb onto the back of him and really do anything about the guys in front of him. Disco also just struggling to get onto the grip of these guys in front, as Fury has left the session. He's quit. So no Fury for the rest of this race. As we go back to a Rabbit Joe who's still trying to find a way past Smoky Devil, but can't quite get onto the back of his fellow Porsche 911 driver. As Forzy has lost time, but has got herself ahead of Peaceful Explosion there. So that's what's happened there. Peaceful Explosion looks like he's had another mistake and has dropped to the back of this train. There's a car off. I'm not sure who that is. I think that's Bozzy Boy. It is that Bozzy Boy. He's got himself going again. But right now we go back to a Rabbit Joe, who is a man who's trying to get himself ahead of Smoky Devil, because he's got Matimovic coming after him now. Matt seems to have found another gear and is now starting to catch the guys in front. 2.1 was the gap. After this lap, it's 1.2. So he's now catching the two in front of him. As Gavlar also not too far away from these guys, as Emo Guy currently nearly a 10-second gap at the front and is pulling away. But Matt will have a challenge trying to get past those guys, as Max Mulder is on the back of Forzy, who's actually got himself ahead of Big Boy Brazier, who has a slide through turn 2. Can't seem to make his way back past Max, as Forzy now trying his best to defend from the guys behind him, and they're not too far away from the two-time champ of Gary 131. But we go back to Rabbit Joe and Smoky Devil, as this fight is hotting up. both Porsches go through, but Matimovic is just behind them in the Bentley. He's just creeping a little bit more time ever so slowly. Smoky Devil now actually looking more interested in Gavlar than worrying about Smoky Devil having to worry about Rabbit Joe behind him, as we've got Max Mulder there still pressurizing Big Boy Brazier with Peaceful not too far behind him either. Look at Max though, he's got a great run up the hairpin. He's going to look up towards Schumacher S's, probably best not to do so, but try and get a good run through the S's and try and send it into the left-hander, but he's not quite close enough as Argent and that Bozzy Boy both into the pits. And I believe that Bozzy Boy is on his way back out. Or it's just now stopped. But back to these guys, and Matimovic within 3/10 of Rabbit Joe, and is really trying to push the limits here so he can able to get onto the back and stop Emo Guy from scoring as many points as he possibly can. A snap there from Matt, but it's Gavlar holding these two Porsches up, and now Rabbit Joe is now becoming under pressure from Matimovic. To head towards the hairpin. Rabbit Joe, what can he do from here? Currently P4, but he's got the pro champion of Matimovic trying to find a way through and trying to win his ACC title. Meanwhile, further behind, Gary 131 is starting to lose time to Forzy, who's got Max down the inside of Big Boy Brazier, and he's got that job done in turn 1. Peaceful also interested with Disco now creeping onto the back of them, and Argent gets himself out of the pits with that Bozzy Boy with major damage to his car. Smoky Devil making a mistake there through the chicane. That's given Rabbit Joe a big interest now, but that's dragging Matt with him. So can Matt get 2 for the price of 1? Both the two Porsches looking like they're struggling at the stage, but Rabbit Joe trying anything to put off Smoky Devil. He looks to the inside, he can't quite get the job done there as they head up towards the Schumacher S's. Further back, there's a fight going on between Forzy and Big Boy Brazier. And Max, sorry, so Max looking like he's wanting to attack Big Boy Brazier, but he can't quite do so. Peaceful Explosion also interested. We go back to these guys, and there, Matimovic right on the rear bumper of Rabbit Joe. Rabbit Joe really in a desperate position here. A birthday boy not long ago, I think it was yesterday, was his birthday, so happy birthday to Rabbit Joe. But he's between a rock and a hard place right now. He's got Matimovic behind him, and he can't seem to find a way past Smoky Devil. This is just allowing Gavlar just to extend his gap ever so slightly. As Max has lost out ever so slightly to... He's lost out to Peaceful, so Peaceful has managed to get away past Max, as Big Boy Brazier has also managed to extend his gap from them as Forzy manages to run away. But Max Mulder now also right on the grass, and off he goes over the bump, and that's going to allow Disco back through. Oh, a Smoky Devil, he's gone off. He looks like he's been hit by Rabbit Joe, or something's happened there. He's gone round, the car's spun round, and he's dropped down the order behind Matimovic and Rabbit Joe. Rabbit with a big wiggle there, has Rabbit Joe sustained damage from making contact with Smoky Devil? That is the question. As Matt right on the rear bumper there of Rabbit Joe, and Liam gets right out of the way. That Bozzy Boy moving to one side in the GTR, not getting in the way of this fight. Rabbit Joe will not want to give this position away to Matimovic right now, as Matt actually lost a little bit of drive there, so he's not quite able to get onto at the back of him. Meanwhile, Disco has got himself ahead of Max, obviously with Max running wide into the final corner, and this is allowing Peaceful Explosion to now try and attack Big Boy Brazier, who's also trying to attack Forzy. And Forzy is also trying to get on the back of Gary 131 with Smoky Devil recovering. Who's that? There's a car off. Is that Bozzy Boy who's gone off? I don't know if Smoky Devil and that Bozzy Boy came together, as Gary's hit Smoky, and that Bozzy Boy's gone off again. He's in the wall. There's all sorts of chaos going on. I think Disco's gone off as well. No, Disco's managed to stay on, but that Bozzy Boy has gone off. I don't know if he's made contact with Smoky Devil. To head towards the chicane now. Matimovic goes through the chicane. He is closer than he's ever been to the back of Rabbit Joe. Can he find himself a way past that 911? Or he's just going to have to sit and look at it for a little bit longer.
As 40 now gains from all that, goes to P5. Gary drops behind with Big Boy Brazier looking to the inside of Gary 131 and Peaceful currently P8. Disco P9 with Max P10. Smoky Devil dropping down the order, and John gains position with PM Motorsport possibly looking to gain a position also. Matt has got past Rabbit Joe, and I believe he's probably done it in turn 1. But Matt's got to be careful that he doesn't leave the door open so Rabbit Joe can come straight back at him. But Matimovic up into P4 now. And probably looking to try and hunt down Gavlar as quickly as he possibly can. He locks himself up a little bit through in the right-hander there. That's allowed Rabbit Joe just to get a little bit closer once again, and the Smoky Devil and that Buzzy Boy in the pits. Big Boy Brazier on the back of Gary 131, looking interested in that. But Rabbit Joe, though, looking to try and come back at Matt here. As they now head towards the chicane, as Dean Masoki's got himself into the session a little bit late, but nonetheless he is in on track. As they head towards the left-hander now, Gavlar, though, looks like he's made a mistake somewhere and has allowed Matimovic to get a little bit closer. But he's just dragged Rabbit Joe with him. Forzy now losing time to Gary 131, who's gaining on the back of him. Big Boy Brazier not too far behind him with Peaceful as well. Max looks like he's had another moment and he can't quite get going. He's in the gravel trap. But we go back to Gavlar, who's got pressure from Matimovic as they go through the chicane. And this is going to be big pressure for Gavlar as he's now P2. Matimovic hunting him down. Emo Guy has long gone into the distance. Smoky Devil says, wow, just been taken out twice. What's going on? That's my race. Ruined. Cheers, lads. As I'm not sure what Smoky Devil is, but either way, Matimovic, though, is on the back of Gavlar. Rabbit Joe runs a little bit wide there. He actually loses a little bit of time to Matt, as he got a massive queue of cars, including Disco as well, involved in that scrap, and it's Forzy who is the mobile chicane in that. And it's everyone trying to find a way past through him. Gavlar, though, still having Matt and Rabbit Joe right behind him. Rabbit Joe putting on a great performance here, really starting to put a little bit of pressure on Matimovic in front of him. They've also got that Buzzy Boy in the pits. He's caused a lot of damage by the looks of things to other cars. Max is back into the pits. He looks like he's got damage. So far, it's easy going for Emo Guy, currently out in front, 15 seconds ahead of this scrap behind him. Gavlar, Matimovic and Rabbit Joe all battling it out for the podium positions. Meanwhile, Forzy has still got Gary 131 and Big Boy Brazier and Peaceful breathing down their neck. So that's a great four-way fight as it stands. Forzy just trying to extend that gap. Rabbit Joe, I think, has had a moment as he's lost time to the two in front of him. And that's going to put Gavlar under massive pressure here as Matt looks to the outside of the chicane, forcing Gavlar to shake different lines here, but he does a brilliant job of staying in the middle of the circuit and makes Matt think different of it. That's just allowing Rabbit Joe to try and bring himself back into this fight. And Rabbit Joe just needs to spend a little bit of time just calming his nerves down a little bit, trying to get himself focused and focus on his lines and try and outsmart Matt if he possibly can. Because Matt is too busy trying to deal with the Ferrari in front of him. Tries to get a good exit there as you just hear a car go by. That is Emo Guy. That's how much of a gap he has. He's pretty much done sector 1 by the time these guys get into turn 2. As Matt has a snap there and is really struggling behind the back of that Ferrari and is not able to do anything about it at the minute, as we've lost a car in the background. That is Peaceful. He's had a moment somewhere and he's lost out to Disco. Big Boy Brazier. And all these guys have all spread out now, so your main fight is Matt and Gavlar on track. And what can they do to put on a show here as Dimasoki gets himself into the session and on track. Just a heads up, Smokey hit me into turn 1, lap 1. That's why I went round. So that's what happened at the start of the race.
according to Fury, as we are coming up to the 35 minutes left of this session, which will mean the pit window will open for 10 minutes, and these guys will have to pit in that window, and they will have to change tyres. We stay on this fight between Gavlar and Matt. Matt has hit Gavlar and has gone round, braking under there, and he's lost out. Matt Imovic has gone round, and he has lost out there to Gavlar, getting himself onto the grass and spinning himself around and making contact with the Ferrari. That's put Rabbit Joe right onto the back bumper of Gavlar. So Rabbit Joe gains from it. He's looking to the chicane. He's going to be brave to do it up there, but he thinks better of it and waits for a little bit longer. But Matt just making contact there with Gavlar and spinning himself back around. Gavlar now, can he try and get away from Rabbit Joe? But he's got him breathing down his neck. They go towards turn 1 now. Matt hasn't lost too much time here. He's only 4 seconds off the back of the 2 in front of him, so he can regain and fight back. And the pit window opens shortly as well, so try and jump them in the pits. But Gavlar has got Rabbit Joe to think about now. Meanwhile, rest of the orders, we do come up to 38 minutes left of the session. It is Emo Guy who leads the way, with Gavlar currently in second. He's got Rabbit Joe breathing down his neck in P3. P4 currently is Mata Imovic, and P5 is Forzy. P6 is Gary131 with Big Boy Brazier currently in P7. Disco is P8 with Peaceful in P9. John is slowly working his way onto the back of Peaceful Explosion in 10th, with PN Motorsport quietly minding his own business in 11th place position, with Smokey down in 12th. Max Mulder in 13th, with Argent currently 14th. 15th is that Bozzy Boy, and Iwasaki bringing up the rear as well, as we go back to Gavlar and Rabbit Joe. And Rabbit Joe's had a great run through the hairpin. He is right on the back bumper of the Ferrari. Can he find a way through? That is the question as they go through the curbs of the Schumacher S's. There's no opportunity. Turn 1 is probably your best opportunity, or into the chicane, as Gavlar does look like he's gone a little bit wide, as Rabbit Joe has a better run through the corner, but he's not able to really use that advantage. And we head towards the chicane again, and Gavlar seems to have a little bit more of an advantage over him. Better run through the chicane by the looks of things, and heads it up to the very fast chicane as we got a car off. I'm not sure who that is. I think that is Buzzy Boy. He's off again, yes, and he comes back on track, trying to avoid contact with anybody, and he's back onto the track. He goes. Steve Masaki stays well out the way, and Gavlar goes through. Steve Masaki moves to one side, allowing Mata Imovic through, as they head now towards turn 1. And once again, Matt is bringing onto the back of these guys. He's now 1.6 off of him. It was 4 seconds. And as I said, these two busy squabbling with one another has allowed Matt to get himself back into the podium fight. And we got a car off. I'm not sure who that is in the middle sector. It's not that Buzzy Boy. It's Max Mulder. He's had another moment, and he's gone off. Both of these two have gone straight on, and they managed to get themselves out of the wall. That's the question. Is Gavlar still ahead of Rabbit Joe, who's still ahead of Mata Imovic? Also, the gap between Forzy and Gary131's come down, with Big Boy Brazier not too far behind them either. So a lot of cars all strung out at the minute, but we're still looking at Rabbit Joe, who's looking to make an opportunity past Gavlar if he possibly can. The pit window has now opened, and who will be into the pits first? Emo Guy is into the final sector as we speak, as there is a car off. I believe that is Max Mulder. Yes, he is off, and he's probably going to look his way into the pits as he does so now. Rabbit Joe still can't find a way past Gavlar. So can he do him in the pits? Is he going to go for the undercut, or is he going to go for the overcut? Either way, Gavlar has to decide what he wants to do now, as Max Mulder is the first man to pit, as I believe Emo Guy is also into the pits. He gets himself in and out of his pit stop, down out of the way. Who's coming into the pits? Is it going to be Max? No, neither one of these guys come in, nor does Matt. These all stay out on track. Forzy now goes to the fast right-hander. Is he going to come into the pits as Rabbit Joe is quite close? Is he going to look to try and send it into turn 1? Emo Guy into his pit box and stops on his mark. So Gavlar now leads this race as Rabbit Joe carries on. Gary stays out. Big Boy Brazier opts the pits with Disco following him in as well. So they're getting their pit stops done and out of the way. Can Rabbit Joe get himself in front? They'd lead the race for at least one lap. As a few of the guys are currently in the pits. Disco, Big Boy Brazier and Emo Guy all serving their pit stops, as is Peaceful. John carries on. As Gary's actually lost a little bit of time to Forzy just ahead of him. What can Rabbit Joe do here as Emo Guy's cleared his pit stop and away he goes. As he comes down the back straight, he is landing himself in a perfect pit window here where there's going to be no cars on track. He's got a clear exit and away he goes. Emo Guy looking very good for a race win here. Gavlar and Rabbit Joe just stringing out a little bit, a second separating them with Matt just behind them. Forzy is also currently ahead of Gary 131, who's just trying to focus on getting his laps done here, as Max Mulder has retired by the looks of things. He is done. As he says, I can't find the speed to hold the car on track. Ali, for now, I am dangerous on track at the moment. Next week, new change, show my speed. Gavlar, turn 1, Y, says Disco. So he's not happy with Gavlar, who's come into the pits. Rabbit Joe's gone in with him, as has Matt. So all three of these guys opt into pit. Now, I believe Gavlar and Matt have all got damage. The question is, has Rabbit Joe got damage? That's the question. Forzy, will he stay out on track and at least lead a lap? He is coming into the pits. So it's going to be Gary 131 who will go into turn 1 and he will lead this race. Still yet to pit, obviously, but Emo Guy on his way to continue. He's the lead car that has done the pit strategy. As Peaceful Explosion has a slide through turn 2 there. As PM Motorsport also looking to just stay out a little bit longer. Does John stay out? Yes, he does. But it's Gary 131 who is your race leader here at the minute. The question is, Gavlar, Rabbit Joe and Matt are all come into the pits. Who's going to be the first one to get going? Emo Guy is into the chicane. So, BB, thanks. As Big Boy is not. Let's represent on that. A lot of drivers not happy. Max says good luck with the rest of the race, guys. See you next week for a good setup. Emo Guy will go down the main straight and will continue on as Gavlar has got himself a speeding, as so as Rabbit Joe. Matt Himovic, though, he comes back out on track. Will he get a speeding? No, he doesn't. So Rabbit Joe and Gavlar both have been speeding in the pit lane and both have a 30-second stop go. As Forzy will now be the next car in net third. So Forzy, at this rate, will get himself on the podium. As Gary 131 leads this race, he's cleared Argent, but it's going to be Emo Guy who is your net race leader. As he will be coming down towards Sector 1. As John also goes through Sector 1, he's currently P2, but he's still yet to pit. Smoky Devil goes through. Can Gary 131 do the overcut on Forzy here and try and get himself ahead as that Bozzy Boy moves to one side and tries to get out of the way, manages to do so. As Gary 131 pushes it for another lap and continues on. Argent's in the pits. So will John come into the pits also, but it's a shame for Gavlar and Rabbit Joe. They had a great start. They managed to get themselves well ahead of Matt, who had damage and had to repair the damage. But now these two are going to have to come in and serve a 30-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane. Such a shame for them. That's put Forzy net third at the minute, with Disco actually not too far behind. So if anything happens to Matt, these boys can still get at least a podium together. But for Gavlar and Rabbit Joe really ruining their own race there by speeding in the pit lane. Gavlar goes straight in the pits, as does Rabbit Joe, They just got to make sure they don't speed in the pit lane once again. And look, Rabbit Joe misses the pit lane and has to carry on. Gavlar will get his pit stop done. But Gary carries on his way. Rabbit Joe will have to do another lap as Gavlar comes into the pits to serve his drive-through. And there goes Matt. Forzy's in the final corner and will get ahead of him. And at this rate, I think by the looks of things, it will be Matt who will possibly win the title. And no matter what Emo Guy can do, he will try everything he's possibly got. They will go 2 for 2 for wins. But Matt being here, I believe Emo Guy didn't make race 1. So if he'd made race 1, this championship would have looked a lot different. So I will actually double check that in a minute. But I believe he didn't turn up for the first race of the season. But Gary's still yet to pit as we got Gavlar in the pits. Also, that Bozzy Boy returns back into the pit also. So just a look in the old videos, and yeah, Emo Guy didn't turn up for the first race of the season as Gary 131 puts himself into the pits. And he will now serve his pit stop. Can he jump Forzy? Because that will allow him to get onto the podium here. So Gary 131 and Forzy are now fighting for a net podium position. But who's going to come out on top? That will be the question. Rabbit Joe will still have to come into the pits and serve his stop and go. So once again, Rabbit Joe and Gavlar really ruining their races as Disco is going into the final sector, while Gavlar is only now going into sector 2. So Gavlar has actually lost out to Big Boy Brazier as well. So that stop and go has really hurt him as John is into the pits and Gary is serving his pit stop. Emo Guy will retain the race lead and will go into turn 1 as Rabbit Joe also now comes in and serve his stop and go penalty. The question is though, Forzy into the final corner. Is he going to stay ahead of Gary 131, who is now cleared his pit stop? He can get going as he does, and I don't think he'll stay ahead of Forzy, and he might lose out to Disco. Disco going down towards turn 1. Gary is off the limiter. They head towards turn 1. This is going to be very, very close between Gary and Disco. Disco going to go around the outside of Gary 131. He tries to do so. Gary keeps it strong, but Disco will have the inside for the next corner. Gary's going to hold it strong on the outside, but he can't do so, and Disco manages to stay ahead of Gary 131. So Disco, just being a bit more braver on the outside of turn 1, has managed to get the position ahead of Gary 131. So now is a fight between who's going to be coming third on the podium. Rabbit Joe finally clears his stop and go and back out on track. He goes, where's Gavlar? He goes to turn 1 with Peaceful just behind him. So that Rabbit Joe has lost out big time to those guys. Where's PM Motorsport? He's nowhere to be seen for these guys, so he'll be all right for that one. But it's now Emo Guy leads the way, but he's got quite a decent gap. Matt's actually brought that gap down. It was 15 seconds to lead. It's now 13.5, so Matt has been bringing the gap down. Forzy now is net third, with Disco in 4th, Gary 131 in 5th. These guys are now fighting for a podium position. So as Big Boy Brazier goes through turn, hairpin now, and he heads up towards the Schumacher S's. He's looking to try and get himself onto the back of Gary 131. I think there's been a moment for somebody. No, that's just the time to catch it up as Rabbit Joe goes into the hairpin. John has actually got himself into a little fight for the back end of Rabbit Joe, Peaceful and Gavlar, so he can still get himself some points that way if they make any mistakes. Forzy through the final corner with Disco not too far behind him, and Gary 131 also not too far behind him, as Matt has taken another second out of Emo Guy here. So Emo Guy now either struggling for pace or is really starting to lose a lot of time to Matahimovic. We go back to a Disco and Gary, who both of these guys will want to try and get onto the back of Forzy, who is currently P3 at the minute. Meanwhile, the battle of the Ferraris between Gavlar and Peaceful Explosion. Peaceful goes through the final corner now. He's currently P8 and looking to try and get onto the back of Gavlar. He's lost some time this lap. He was 8 tenths behind him. He's now dropped further back. Gary also lost a little bit of time to Disco on this lap. He was only 1.7 behind. He's now nearly 2 seconds off the back of Disco McDisco Face. There's not a lot of fights going on track at the minute. The pit stops once again has leveled everything out, as Peaceful was actually a little bit closer to Gavlar here. As for some reason my laptop's decided to be annoying and I'm trying to find out the information that I need to know. But Peaceful Explosion now. Trying to find a way past his fellow Ferrari driver of Gavlar, who's currently P7. He was in second place, but obviously with the stop and go for speeding in the pit lane, he has lost out massively there and is now having a fight with Peaceful Explosion, a fellow Ferrari driver. They head towards the low chicane. Rabbit Joe also a part of that fight now, after also he having to serve a stop and go. Matinovic once again taking another second out of Emo Guy, so it's now 11.4. Is Emo Guy just in cruise mode now to get himself back for another win? Both drivers will have taken 2 wins between them. Only one man managing to split them, and that would have been a Gavlar. So it'll be who will be able to get the last win of the season between them. Gavlar now under massive pressure from Peaceful, only half a second behind him, with Rabbit Joe just behind them as well. They're towards turn 1. As now my laptop decides to play a ball with me. And once again, Peaceful just getting very, very close to the back of Gavlar, looking to try and find a way through if he possibly can. At the minute, unable to do so. Disco has managed to put the gap down to Forzy. Gary 131 quite not on the pace of Disco at the minute, with Forzy now starting to lose time. Once again, Matt has taken another second out of Emo Guy. So Emo Guy either is really starting to just cruise his way to the finish, or now he's starting to become under some massive pressure from Matt, who is hunting him down lap after lap after lap. So I'm looking at the championship standings as it now. Emo Guy would lose the championship. This is not enough for him, and it will be Matt who will be your champion here tonight. But right now, 10.2, that gap's coming down. Forzy, on the other hand, has got Disco within less than a second of him as they cross the start-finish line. That has gone back up once again, so Disco's made a mistake. Gary gets a little bit closer. We go back to Gavlar and Peaceful. They're also still under pressure, but there's also another fight going on in the chicane. I'm not sure who that is. Oh, that's Argent and Big Boy Brazier. So Big Boy's just trying to clear him so that he can try and catch after Gary. But we go back to Gavlar, who's lost out to Peaceful here, and Peaceful's got in front of Gavlar. Missed that one as we were looking at the sheets. So Gavlar now has dropped behind Peaceful Explosion. We know Peaceful has a mistake in it, and they go to the inside. There's the marbles you can see there. They'll be picking up on the tyres and they'll be making their cars feel absolutely horrid right now, and less grip for them, as Rabbit Joe now also very much interested in this scrap. As they go through turn 1 into turn 2 we go. Still, it's Gavlar trying to find a way past Peaceful Explosions. Peaceful has already done the hard work and got himself past Gavlar. Emo Guy now seems to have been topping up the pace. He is now matching Matt lap for lap as it stands. So Matt either in traffic or he's just struggling. He did have a little bit of traffic of PN Motorsport crossing up to the Delta now, and again he's just matched Emo Guy this lap. So go back to the Ferrari duo with the Porsche 911 of Rabbit Joe hunting those two down. This is going to be an interesting scrap between these guys at the minute. if I go now and look at the points, if I just pop in the points now, we can find out if it's enough for Emo Guy, and I really don't think it will be enough. As I just put in, just to know where we stand at the minute. As that sounds like a car that's gone off. That is a car that's gone off. It's Gavlar who's gone round, and he has lost out to John here as well, by the list of things. He might, yeah, John's gone through now. He's lost out to Rabbit Joe and John, as that body boy is back into the pits once again. And Gary 131 has now got within 8/10 of Disco. So Disco went from attacking to now having to defend. So when I now look at the tables, if that was the championship over, it would be over, as there's 25 points for each round, and Emo Guy would not score enough as it stands. So Emo Guy really needs to hope that something happens to Matt at this minute, because at this stage the championship will be going the way of Matt Imovic. Forzy now under pressure from Disco, who's under pressure from Gary 131. Rabbit Joe now attacking Peaceful Explosion. So all the fights are coming towards the end of this race. Less than 20 minutes to go. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you do not miss a single bit of action here at Simplay Motorsport, as we are currently watching a Peaceful Explosion who's under pressure from Rabbit Joe. But more importantly, Disco is now starting to put pressure on Forzy towards the end of this race. Will we get Disco on the podium? Will Forzy make a return after he's done so in F2? That is the question. A lot of questions to be answered, and only less than 17 minutes left to go, and our answers will be given. Disco now heading towards the top of the chicane. He's right on the back of Forzy. He looks to the inside, he thinks better of it. He's hoping that Forzy's going to miss his braking. He doesn't. He makes the apex, he makes the corner. Gary's right behind, but Disco runs wide. He gets onto the grass, losing traction, losing speed, and allows it Forzy to just slip away. Rabbit Joe, on the other hand, is on the back of Peaceful Explosion. Peaceful Explosion with a lot of pressure from the 911 of Rabbit Joe. He looks down the inside and can't get his way through. So now towards the chicane these guys go. There's a whole gaggle of cars just ahead of them. I think that's still Big Boy Brazier and Smoky Devil, so those guys are just trying to sort themselves out. But Rabbit Joe looking to make a move on Peaceful as he goes towards the chicane. No movement there. Disco gets back on Forzy as they go round through turn 2. He makes contact with Forzy just on the bad bumper there. So the Ferrari making contact with the Porsche. He runs a little bit wide. That's going to give Gary more interest as he's getting closer and closer. But as Forzy still defending for his life, as Disco is not too far behind him. Really trying to use the advantage of the Ferrari's aerodynamics to try and get right on the back of the Porsche 911 of Forzy. Gary gained a lot of time on the brakes through there. He runs a little bit wide, but he does try and get closer. Peaceful still under pressure from Rabbit Joe. Rabbit Joe running a little bit deep and has allowed Peaceful just to extend his gap ever so slightly. Disco and Forzy going through. Whoops, I'm on the wrong account. So we've got Disco there getting ever so closer onto the back of Forzy. This is also allowing Matt to get closer as, Gary to get closer as well. I said Matt because they're both teammates, as Disco once again trying to get the run on Forzy, but instead he's got Gary 131 who's more closer to him. Rabbit Joe within 3/10 of Peaceful Explosion as they go through the Schumacher S's. But up towards the chicane we go. Forzy's gone wide. Forzy's lost the rear. Has he managed to keep it together? He has, but Disco's going to look to the outside of the final corner. He doesn't quite get the job done. Forzy's gone deep. Gary's gone deep. And that's Disco now up into P3 and on the podium positions. Disco, with a brilliant recovery drive, has got himself to the podium. But here comes Gary 131 on Forzy. Forzy to the inside, Gary to the outside. Forzy, is he going to try and brave it out on the inside? Gary's going to try and go around the outside. He will try and get the inside for the next part of the corner, but Forzy will just hang in there. Rabbit Joe gets right on the back of Peaceful Explosion here. So as this fight's going on, Peaceful's, I think, is onto the grass. That's given Rabbit Joe the opening down the inside, and through he goes. The number 16 of Rabbit Joe passes the 11 of Peaceful Explosion, but Peaceful has better drive. They're side by side. They're going towards turn 1. Meanwhile, Gary still hasn't got past Gavlar. So Peaceful and Rabbit Joe going towards turn 1. Who's braver on the brakes? Rabbit Joe a little bit more squirrely towards the hairpin. Bit of a tighter line, but that would give Peaceful an opportunity to go down the inside. Not good enough traction for him, and that's allowed Rabbit Joe to move up a position. Great racing from these guys, and good action towards the end of this race. Peaceful, though, looking to try and make a move on Rabbit Joe towards the end there. He's really tight to the apex of turn 3, but he's got to lose out in turn 4. As Rabbit Joe will extend that gap. Meanwhile, Gary 131 is trying to get onto the back of Forsey. He looked like he had a loose rear end then going into the Schumacher S's, and Forsey now is under pressure from the two-time champ of Gary 131. But meanwhile, Disco has put on a fantastic recovery drive to get himself into the top 3. Speaking of the top 3, Emo Guy is 13 minutes away from another race win, but it's not enough as Matimovic is currently on his way to get another title to his name. 4 titles to his name. As Gary 131 is now trying to put pressure on the back of Forsey. As Peaceful Explosion is still within a second of Rabbit Joe, so possibly he can go for a late attack. The Gavlar also working his way onto the back of John, who's, again, he's had a quiet race himself and has just been picking up positions left, right and centre. We go back to Gary 131. And Forsey. And I've got to say, these guys have put on a fantastic show here this evening. A reminder as well that this is in honour of Queen Elizabeth II, who sadly passed away today. And these boys have put on a fantastic show in honour of her memory. As Gary 131 looks to the inside of turn 5. But he forces Forsey to the inside. He looks to the outside. The Porsche is getting really close. Gary to the inside. Forsey goes wide. And Forsey on the grass. That's allowed Gary 131 up onto 4th place position. But he's on the gravel trap. And that's going to allow Forsey back through. It's ebbing and flowing between these two Porsche 911 drivers. And it's gone the way of Forsey. As I will put now a poll up on who you think will be the driver of the day. Guys, these guys have put on a fantastic show here this evening. But at the minute, it's the 2 Bentleys way out in front. Disco putting on a fantastic show, recovering himself up into the top 10. But also Gary 131 and Forsey have put on a great show as well. As Forsey and Gary still going at it at the minute. Less than half a second between these two. Peaceful's now lost touch to Rabbit Joe, who's extended his gap. Gavlar is also trying to catch onto the back of John. So there's still fights going on left, right and centre. Gary's on the grass! Gary's on the grass, he's caught it. Brilliant drive in there. That's his stock car driving there coming into effect, catching the rear end and able to continue going. And Forsey gets a break from Gary 131, but it is Disco who has managed to escape. He is 4.5 seconds ahead of the 2 Porsches who are still battling it out. So as we've got 10 minutes left of the session, this is your final running order as we head towards the end of this race. It is Emo Guy who leads the way and has led from lights to flag at this stage. Can he keep it all the way and match Matt with 2 race wins to his name? Matimovic currently second, but will look like he will go on to win the ACC title here at Simplay Motorsport. Disco currently P3 at the minute and has got that gap over to Forsey in 4th place. 5th is Gary 131 after that big moment. Can he catch onto the back of Forsey? That's the question towards the end of this race. Big Boy Brazier, once again a quiet race for himself and just picking off people left, right and centre. 6th as it stands, with Rabbit Joe currently 7th at the minute, with Peaceful not too far behind him still, with John currently 9th and minding his own business again, bringing in the points for himself. 10th is Gavlar. And right on the back of John, trying to score as many points as he can. PM Motorsport once again keeping it solid and going to the end. That Bozzy Boy has retired, with Smoky Devil in P12, Argent in 13th, and Dean Wasaki in 14th, who's going to get to the end. But we go back to Gary and Forsey. and these two are still going at it. Somebody is watching my private stream. You do not want to be watching my private stream, ladies and gentlemen. You want to be heading over to Simplay Motorsport live on YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified so you do not miss any of the action here at Simplay Motorsport. Make sure you tune in on Discord and Facebook for any of the news or action that's going to happen here. We are looking to do an Indy 500, an event where we do the full Indy 500 around Indianapolis. Make sure you tune in for that. And we also have some possible ideas, possibly a Rallycross Championship as well, but we will see. But we are looking at Gary and Forzy right now as they are trying to actually catch Disco. Disco's made a mistake. He had a 4.5 second gap. That's dropped to less than 2 seconds now. So Disco is still not quite out of the woods yet. I can only add 4 drivers. And currently Gary and Forzy are putting on a fantastic show at the minute. I don't know which driver to add to the as Gary seems to be going there quite a lot. We'll put Forzy on there at the minute. So ask the community, guys, there is a vote out for driver of the day. Get your votes in for driver of the day, as we are now down to the last 8 minutes, and it's Porsche versus Ferrari, and it's Disco trying to hang on to the podium positions. But as it stands, this man is looking like he is going to get himself another title. Arnold for Dubs taking the F2 title a couple of weeks back. Matimovic is going to add to his tally, being 4 times champion. But he's going to do it independently here on ACC. What this championship would have been if Emo Guy would have turned up for the first round of the season. He has put on a fantastic show, and he's done everything right here to this evening. He's not put a foot wrong and is going on his way to get another win to his name. Forzy and Gary131 are still going at it as Emo Guy gets 1 vote to his name. Guys, get your votes in now. The poll is up, and if you think Gary deserves driver of the day, then put your vote in on the chat as well, because he's doing a fantastic run here at Forzy towards the end of this race. Who's also still trying to put pressure on the back of Disco, who's made a mistake somewhere, and that's allowed Forzy just to get within less than 2 seconds behind him. But we're looking at Peaceful Explosion, who is trying to hunt down Rabbit Joe, who's also got John, who's also got a little bit of pressure coming from Gavlar towards the end of this race. So the last bit of pressures are coming in now, but Gary's dropped the gap down to less than half a second. If he gets a good run out the final corner, he will be able to try and attack it into turn 1, try and get into the braking zone. And look how close he is on the back of the Porsche 911 of Forzy. He can see P3, he can get himself on the podium. He goes to the outside. Gavlar also getting really close to the back of John, further back behind, but Gary still trying to find that position past Forzy. Forzy still managing to stay just ahead, but while these two are still scrapping, Disco is pulling away. Gary131, a multiple champion, 2-time champion. He knows exactly what to do in these situations. He's won the Constructors in Pro twice. So sorry, 3 times. Done it with his brother twice and 1 with Matt. He's also won the F1 Constructors Championship as well. So he knows exactly what to do in these situations. He has to find the right time to get past Forzy. Meanwhile, Gavlar is on the inside of John as they head towards turn 1. John now, it's gonna lose out to Gavlar, and he gets himself up into P9. John just hanging in there, but he stays in the top 10. We go back to Gary131, who is still on the back of Forzy. And I'm trying to find out some information here about Emo Guy, because I know he is on his way for another race win. I want to know exactly how many race wins are to his name, as someone just touches the gravel, and I think that was Gary. And Gavlar now pulling away from John is what he needs to do. Rabbit Joe and Peaceful, they've had their race terminated there, and they will be coming home at the minute in that position if Rabbit Joe does not make a mistake. But Disco here, I don't know what's going on with Disco. He doesn't seem to have the pace that he has, as Emperor says in the chat. Driver of the day for me, Queen Elizabeth II, for driving a country for 72 years, Emperor. Get that right, 72 years and 110 days. Driver of the day goes to Queen Elizabeth II, so according to Emperor. But either way, Disco is now under pressure from Forzy towards the end of this race. Forzy now could see the podium. He's actually gained 6/10. Gary's lost time there. Gary's very slow out of the final corner, so Forzy can now just focus on Disco. Guys, get your votes in on the chat. 18 people currently watching. Hit that like button. The 3 votes have gone to Emo Guy, Matt and Disco. 3 votes across. Get your votes in now, because they we'll head towards driver of the day and we'll announce it as well. I'll get my driver of the day as well. But looks like Matt could possibly on his way to win a 4th championship. But more importantly, this fight between the top couple of guys for the podium positions. It's Disco versus Forzy. PN gets right out of the way of this fight. Gary's now cleared these guys, but Gary has really dropped off the back of Forzy now after making that mistake in the final corner. When does Forzy make this move? Disco has had many appearances here at Simplay Motorsport, had a couple of wins as well to his name, so he also knows how to do a podium position as they go through the Schumacher S's now. As we go on the wins list here, and I will find Emo Guy. Emo Guy, there he is. This will be his 6th win to his name ever on Simplay Motorsport. Forzy has just lost out a little bit. He's dropped down to at least a 2nd. But where is Emo Guy? He is in Sector 1. And he's got quite a decent gap of Matt now just losing pace to him. As also Forzy's gone wide. He's on the grass, he's managed to catch it, but he's got deep into the final corner, and that's Gary down the inside of Forzy. But Forzy manages to get back on track. He gets better traction, better drive, and that's Gary 131 down the inside. Side by side, the two Porsches go. They're touching each other as well, and Gary comes out on top. Forzy had to give in, but Forzy looking down the inside, but he thinks better of it, goes to the outside, and Gary 131 will go up into 4th place position. Forzy dropping down to 5th, but there's still time left to get that position back. Disco once again has been given a lifeline, 3 seconds ahead up the road between these two. So Gary and Forzy really giving Disco this podium right now as they're too busy racing one another. But a great fight between the two Porsches nonetheless. This is Emo Guy's, I believe this is Emo Guy's 78th appearance, and it's going to be his 6th win overall here at Simplay Motorsport. It's going to be adding to the tally. Who could be on top between Matt and Emo? Who's going to be the one who takes the most wins this season? That is the question, as Gary now has pulled away from Forzy. And I think that fight is probably done and dusted now, as the rest of the pack are in their final order positions. Emo Guy crosses the start-finish line, and I think he will be starting his final few laps here. Emo Guy leading the way at the minute, with Matinovic in 2nd and possibly on his way to win his 4th championship to his name. Disco Madisco Face in 3rd place, and it'll be good for him to get back on the podium, build that confidence before Season 7 comes along. 4th at the minute is Gary 131, and 5th is Forzy. 6th is Big Boy Brazier, and 7th is Rabbit Joe. Top 8 for Peaceful Explosion, and once again, Gablar with a very good start to the race earlier on, was up in P2 for a long time, dropping himself down to 9th after speeding in the pit lane, as was Rabbit Joe. So they both losing out, as they could have very good opportunities. John in P10 with PM Motorsport P11, with Smoky Devil in 12th, Argent in 13th, and Dean Wasocki at least finishing this race and bringing up the rear. But Emo Guy goes towards the hairpin now, and this is going to be another win to Emo Guy's name, but it won't be enough for the title. He cannot take it to the final round of the championship, which will be a shame. But either way, Emo Guy, like I said, has driven the perfect race today. No mistakes, has been squeaky clean literally everywhere. As he comes now towards the chicane, that is your race ticking over there. And Emo Guy is coming home to win this race. Still only 3 votes in the chat. Get your votes in, guys. 20 people currently watch it. But it's Emo Guy exiting the final corner. He wins round 5 here of ACC in the Bentley here at the Nurburgring. He takes the win. But it's not going to be enough, because this man is going to come into the final corner. And Matinovic, 1, 2, 3, 4 times a champion. He wins the ACC championship. He will take the championship here at the Nurburgring by coming home in second place position. But Emo Guy gave him a good fight. Disco McDisco Face is on his way to take that final podium position. But the two Porsches of Gary 131 and Forzy did give him a good run for his money. Arjun's crossed the line. He's finished in 13th with Dean Wasoki's going to come home in that 14th place position. But here he comes, Disco McDisco Face. What a recovery drive from him. He gets himself on to the podium here. And brilliant stuff from him. Good recovery drive from him. He goes across the line for P3. Gary 131 will take 4th place position, with Forzy in 5th place position. Big Boy Brazier, another quiet race from himself. He's going to come home, as I think Smoky Devil and PN are having a fight towards the line. Who's it going to be? I think Smoky Devil just manages to pip PN at the end there. And then there's Big Boy Brazier crossing the line as well. Rabbit Joe will come home in 7th place position. Peaceful Explosion will come home in 8th, with Gavlar bringing up 9th place position, and bringing up the final top 10 will be John as well. But this is your champion. Mata Himovic is your ACC champion and winner of this championship. Emo Guy, though, equalizes him with wins here, both of them on 2 apiece. Who is going to go into the final race of the season, going on top of most wins of the night? As we got Matt in the chat, I will now get Disco and Emo Guy into the chat as well. 1 Welsh, 2 Scots in the podium positions, and Matt, I'm pretty sure, is just updating the standings, just so I'm 100% sure that I've got my calculations right. Last thing we want to do is get that wrong. And so I got Disco and Emo Guy now heading towards the party. And as Matt is in the chat, we might as well have a quick word with him just overall with the race.
Just 2 seconds, I'm just doing the results.
Okay, well, what I will do then, we've got 4 people currently voting in the chat, and at the minute it's going the way of Emo Guy for driver of the day. Who we got in the chat? We have got Disco, thank God for that. I was hoping it was Disco who's going to be first. Disco, straight into the chat. You're on the podium once again, buddy. It's been a while since you've spoken to you on the podium, but nonetheless, that has been a great recovery drive, considering the start of that race really didn't go your way, but nonetheless, you've got to be happy with P3.
Yeah, I say 2nd week in a row, I didn't get past turn 1 before incident, but the disco of old has disappeared when I would throw the toys out the pram and run away. I put my head down, I got off with it, went through the rest with the damage to the pit stops, and then, yeah, just put my head down towards the end and tried to catch Forzy.
Well, speaking of Forzy, yourself, Forzy and Gary had a cracking little fight towards the end of that race. You 3 really put on a great show. We're swapping between yourself and Peaceful and Rabbit Joe having a fight, but nonetheless, you've got to be happy with that scrap. And also, that pit stop really put you back into this fight. And obviously, with Gavlar and Rabbit Joe picking up penalties as well, you really put yourself in that position, and it had to just attack Forzy towards the end.
Yeah, I say I kind of learned a lesson a bit from Jamie last week when he kind of. I realised he didn't fix his damage and he disappeared, and I really suffered with that last week. So yeah, this week I just thought, screw it. It's not. I wasn't quick, but I was stable. I was consistent. So yeah, I couldn't have figured I'd make up the time without doing that. Yeah, race. Happy. Congratulations, Matt. Superb season, mate.
We got Gablar in the chat. He's just said sorry to you for whacking him from behind, so he's apologised for the contact at the start of the race. But nonetheless, a new disco as we see here. Like you said, you would have given up, you would have quit, but nonetheless, you kept your head down, you got there through. Speaking of the new disco, season 7 is coming up soon. I know for a fact that you've partnered with a driver for next season in a car that I've never seen you drive. Are you happy to announce car and teammate? And also, what is your plans going into season 7?
So yeah, some people might have seen it in the Discord. I've teamed up with Overtaker in the Lamborghini for next season. It's a car I used to race back in, the infancy of TC2. It's okay. It's not the BMW. I shouldn't expect rapid pace straight away, but yeah, we'll get there.
Obviously a big season coming up ahead with likes of myself returning, Matt obviously current champion, Gary 131, with the rumours of Richie also joining as well. It's going to be that grid is going to be one of our hardest. And is it just going to be about just kind of picking up points as the season goes on, going for race wins? And are you and Overtaker really looking to try and get the constructors?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to go into it neutral and just see what comes. I did the whole going for constructors and disappointing myself before with Slingshot and it never really coming to fruit. So we'll just see how it goes. There's a lot of competitive guys on the grid. It's disrespectful to think I'm going to walk in there again and start collecting race wins. So,
well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the P3 tonight and a great recovery drive from yourself.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
No worries. As we will then move on to Emo Guy as he's joined the chat. We'll come back to Matt in a second, but we will go to Emo Guy. Emo Guy, race win number 6 here at Simplay Motorsport to your name, and that is a second one here at ACC. How does that one feel? And you pretty much dominated that pretty boring race for yourself from lights to flag, no issues.
Yeah, the only real situation I ever had during that race was when I was trying to overlap Dean Wiswalki for the first time. He kind of slowed down and did a Max Verstappen versus Hamilton Jeddah situation. But apart from that, the race was pretty quiet. I just kept my head down and kept on racing.
Yeah, definitely so. As we just get a message in the chat there by Forty saying he's so gutted. He just lost out to Disco and Gary there, but nonetheless, that was a great fight for them. Obviously, the reason we're coming to you first is obviously, if you turned up for Silverstone, this would have been a whole completely different story, because we would be talking and going into the final race for you fighting with Matt for the championship, because you've been phenomenal in this ACC championship, and it's just because of that one round we're going to have to obviously announce that Matt will be champion. But nonetheless, this game and you in this car just seem to have gelled. You have been really dominant in this game, and it's nice to see. Obviously, probably a bit gutted that the championship just slipped from your fingers, but nonetheless, you've got to be happy with what you've done so far this season.
Yeah, well, anybody would be, to miss round 1, which I completely forgot about, I'm not going to lie. That's why I didn't show up. Anybody that's missed round 1 and still managed to get to the position where they are would be proud of themselves. I feel like it's mainly attributed to my racing on the PC so much as well, with doing endurance races mainly and everything like that. And also, my last endurance race was at the Nurburgring in the Bentley, so I think that kind of helped a lot as well.
Okay, yeah. Yourself and Matt are both currently on 2 race wins apiece. Gavlar with the other race win as well. You both go into the final race. I can't actually remember what the final race of the season is, but you go into Monza. You go towards Monza. You're both in the same car. You're both in the same machine. Are you going to try and outdo Matt with race wins, or is it just more again just trying to just do as best as you can?
Monza, it's not the best, given that the Bentley can't be quite fast in a straight line. It's not the best track for the Bentley, so I'll just have to wait and see what I can do.
Well, online multiplayer at Monza, you know.
Well, yeah, turn 1. But yeah, I can only hope.
Well, congratulations though on the race win, and obviously commiserations on losing the championship, but nonetheless you have been fantastic this season on ACC, and if we do bring the ACC championship back, which I'm pretty sure it will be back, we would like to see you come back once again and bring the fight to Matt if he came to defend his title. But congratulations on that, and also you get driver of the day from the fans as well, so you get that to your name as well, so congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
As we now move on to your 4-time champion in Simplay Motorsport, Matt Ahimovic has not just done it once, not twice, not 3 times. He is now a 4-time champion, winning Pro-Am, Pro, ACC, and he's now won F1. Matt, how does that feel?
Oh, that's good, Dan. That is good. It sounds good, that, doesn't it?
It does. You're slowly working your way up, 2 behind myself with most championships, but nonetheless, that one's got to feel good. And again, I said to Emo Guy a second ago, if Emo Guy had turned up for Silverstone, we'd be having a very, very different conversation. But nonetheless, you've got to be proud of the drive that you had, because lap 1, that looked like it was all going wrong from lap 1.
Yeah, just to say that, if Emo Guy had made Silverstone, what a season this would be, going down to the wire at Monza. And he's a quick guy on this game, isn't he? He's a quick guy on this game, and he knows his stuff. And it's been thoroughly a pleasure to drive against him and everybody else. But that one didn't go my way. I don't know. I got a tap from the rear. I don't know who, and I was straight to the back of the pack. And screamed a bit on the stream, on my stream, and was a bit unhappy. And then it just took forever to seem to clear Bozzy and Gary and Joe and Gavlar. You know, I saw Disco made a mistake, which cheers for that one, buddy. Peaceful made a mistake, which cheers to him as well, because that allowed me through. But there was just so many people. I had the pace to be at the front, and you know, at the end of the race as well, I could see that I was gaining on Emo Guy, and the time just ran out, and I just backed off and made sure I didn't make no mistakes.
Fair enough. It was at one point you looked like you were starting to catch Emo Guy towards the end, but I think Emo Guy seemed to be into a cruise mode. Same question again to you from Emo Guy. You're both on 2 wins apiece. Gavlar, the only race winner to take a win here in the ACC. You go to Monza, both in the Bentley. Can you just stop Emo Guy from beating you in most race wins this season? Or is it just, again, yourself, just go out and just see what happens?
Like Emo and Disco's just said, you know, Monza, online multiplayer. We'll have to wait and see what happens at turn 1
There's
and
nothing
turn
wrong
2.
with Monza. Monza's brilliant. Best the circuit of speed.
The bonus for this one is you get a rolling start, so you can kind of generate a bit more of a gap. But look, of course, I want to try and take the fight to Emo Guy. I want to try and end the season on a win. I want to try and end it on 3 wins and end the season as we started it. But look, what a season. You know, thanks to everybody who's watched, tuned in, liked, subscribed, and all the drivers again. You know, without you guys here at Simplay, we couldn't do this. Obviously, 2 years now, we've been going strong and we're getting stronger. And you know, on days like today, hard days like today, you know, again, just thanks for the support from everybody, and thanks for all the drivers for the practice session, for the pitting for 2 minutes there. Yeah, great respect there for giving the scenes today. And now, bring on next week, challenge me and Emo Guy, 3 wins apiece. What would be quite funny is if Gavlar ends it and we end on 2 each and he wins the race. But look, Disco, he's going to be wanting a race win to his name by the end of the season as well. So the Tifosi, I'm sure, will be a strong voice for him, Gavlar, and Peaceful.
Also, let's have a brief mindset. Obviously, we know a lot of drivers having to confirm cars season for the new season coming ahead. A quick word from yourself. Like I said, myself returning 3-time champ, Richie coming into the championship as well, Overtaker making a return. We've also got Fury, who's been stepping up every season. You've got Gary also and Big Boy Brazier all making a return. There could be 8 drivers up for this title for season 7, probably our best season yet. Reminder to everybody, 28th of September.
18th.
Make sure you 28th, I thought it was.
No, 18th.
Either way.
Oh no, 28th we start, 18th for the cars, if that's what you were saying. Sorry.
No, 28th for when we are live. Make sure you are live on Simplay Motorsport. Let me handle this, Matthew Duffin. I've got this. Brief word from yourself of this new season ahead. You are the defending pro champion.
Yeah.
And can you confirm car and teammate for the season? Well, I think most people know what teammate you are, but the car is the question.
Coming back to defend their constructors championship, and at the minute we're looking at the beast that Disco and Andy used to drive. We've decided to buy it from Slingshot and paint it and make it better, hopefully, and do what Disco and Andy couldn't do. It's proving tricky at the minute, but we're going to get our best shot. There's about 10 or 12 drivers that could win this title. It's probably easier to tip who will get relegated or will be in a relegation fight than who will win the league. But yeah, it's going to be one heck of a season, and guys, you don't want to miss it.
Great, another season we'll have to look at a BMW. But nonetheless, what a night we've had of racing here. Congratulations to Matt on his 4th championship win here at Simplay Motorsport. What an honour and a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II as Matt wins the title. As a little bit of a send away there, we have the Aston Martin in the British colours as well, just in the back of the screen. Make sure you tune in next week as we will have the final race of the season underway, as we will head to Monza after F1 goes to Monza this weekend. Ourselves will be heading to Monza in ACC for the final round of the championship. Make sure you tune in and see that action as well, and keep an eye on Facebook and Discord for any information about any events coming up soon. There's rumours around about an Indy 500 race possibly happening, and also there might be rumours of a Rallycross championship possibly happening as well. Maybe a week of Rallycross, and see who is the best of the best when it comes to gravel and dirt and tarmac. But nonetheless, make sure you are tuning in on the 28th of September. Make sure I'm getting that right. For the first round of the championship for season 7, as Pro-Am will be on the grid as they will start the season off at Oschersleben A. And what a track we start with, an absolute beauty. But nonetheless, it is Matt Imovic who is your ACC champion here tonight. It is Emo Guy who takes the win at Nurburgring. Who is going to get the 3rd win of the season who's going to be the best of the best, or is it going to be someone else, or is Gavlok going to match him? That is the question. But nonetheless, in honor of Queen Elizabeth, we have done an amazing job here tonight. Matt is your champion. Good night.
Between us, yeah, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up.